All right. That's the mood I'm entering today. Hope everybody's having a good one. If you look down in the bottom right corner, you will see that Bitcoin is nearing 95.6. I actually I talked about this in a prediction over the weekend. The fact that we could see just a trend in the red zone and that it was holding it really tightly, and that I thought we might just break out from here. That appears to be happening as exactly as predicted. Also, it looks like gold is very toppy, getting a little bit of a bounce right now in but still down, 6-ish% from the top. And it looks like we called that one pretty good too. And I think we're going to have a lot of predictions that are going to be coming true over the short term. I did want to say I've actually added a zero hedge subscription and then Crypto Quant. So I'm playing around with those, trying to see what I can get from them so that I can provide you guys with more content. I'm going to put that subscriber only in X. And then also, and then obviously on YouTube, we talk about it too. And then also, somebody brought up unusual whales. I actually think that's kind of interesting. There might be some signals just getting an idea of what's moving and how it's moving. You guys don't hear me, or do you guys hear me? Hopefully you guys hear me. Anyway, so is everybody else? Yeah, no, I think you guys are good. 2 people said sound. No sound, anyone? Do you guys hear sound? I'm assuming sound is working. It should. Can hear you clearly. Okay, good. All right. Yeah, you like my intro? So refresh if you're not getting sound, guys. But yeah, so Crypto Quant, or I'm sorry, unusual whales I think could actually be really interesting for large transactional moves on blockchains near the peak. So I actually probably will look into that, but I'm going to focus right now on zero hedging Crypto Quant and learning everything I can. So today, all kinds of stuff. We've got the New World Trade Order. That is that's my new classification of what I think is going on with tariffs. So I'm going to start using that and putting it out into the world so that we get people to use it. But we had Bessant on CNBC. He's going to be coming, or I should say he was on over the weekend on ABC. That was a great interview. It was about 10 minutes long. A lot of people mischaracterizing what he said on that one. But we have another one here in about 15 minutes with him on CNBC, so that should be fun. We've got China flipping potentially, talking about how they're going to be buying more imports, which sounds a lot like what Bessant was talking about within the Mar-a-Lago Accord, even though Bessant said in the ABC News that he didn't actually meet with the Chinese delegation in any way outside of the normal capacity in which they discuss things, not specifically to tariffs. So it sounds like the people we saw going in there, it wasn't really necessarily tariff related. And he did indicate that he didn't say that Trump was talking with Xi, but when asked as to, why would the Chinese lie about talking to Trump, he responded with, they have a different audience that they're speaking to. So that's been mischaracterized a bunch, but I think very interesting stuff. We'll see what comes out of Scott Bessant today. We also have Temu and Shein all of a sudden are news items. So people just realize that they're going to get fucked this week. And we're going to talk about some of the things that you have to worry about the prices going up on. That should be fun. We've got, again, China removed a bunch of tariffs. They put tariffs on pork. I don't know if they realized that one of the largest pork producers in America is a company called Smithfield here in the Midwest. And they're Chinese. They got bought out by the Chinese company. So they're refusing to buy their own fucking goods now. I think the top-down approach of communism is not working out very well for them. And again, we had the Zweig bread thrust last week that is 100% accurate going back to 1949. High-yield spreads are still looking good. Gold appears to have topped, just like we talked about. We've got potential war with Pakistan and India. We've got, the stuff still happening between Israel and Gaza. And so much more. There's so much talk of war, so much talk of chaos. It's going to be fun. We'll start off, though, with tariffs. Let me see here. We got Xi doesn't want to appear weak. Yeah, it's a big thing in China not to appear weak, especially for somebody like Xi who stepped away from the norm of what was going on with China, which was embracing capitalism. You got to remember, it was kind of a record. I forget his name, but like at late 70s or no 80s, he stepped down as the leader of the CCP. It was just something that didn't really happen. Without some kind of overthrow of government to allow another person to step up. And it was like, it looked like China was embracing democracy and capitalism. Things were looking good. It was really when Xi Jinping came on board that all of a sudden we just went full Mao and things changed very, very quickly. So it wasn't good stuff. Morning, Jesse. Loved your charting and so many updates on X over the weekend. Thanks for what you do, bro. Appreciate it. You're welcome. Sid Vid 2007, there's chatter behind the scenes. There's always chatter. Man Mahindra, gold is likely to reverse and begin its decline by mid-May. Nick, good morning all. Brian Wong, Chairman Mao. Yeah, what a legend that guy was. He murdered like 60 to 80 million fucking Chinese people. What a cool guy. All right, so real Donald Trump. I wanted to talk about this. This is a post I made off of an interview with Dan Ives' amazing outfit that Dan Ives has on, where CNN let you know with a whiteboard and that 40% of cargo ships leaving China for the U.S. are empty. I won't. I'll just show you. This is the amazing artwork. That was it. That was pretty much the whole episode. Oh no, China's leaving, empty. All these things are going to happen. Blah 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 blah. Here's my response to that. Ding Xiaoping. Thank you, Silas. As far as the person who was kind of pushing us towards democracy, thank you. And then he got ousted too. Is he even alive anymore? So many of them are dead. I know most of them are ghosted, but real Donald Trump, I said, doesn't need to do shit, because they were saying that the entirety of this was that it's a ticking time bomb and that tariffs are creating a tsunami and that we need to do something to try and resolve this. So I said, Trump doesn't need to do shit. This is what people like Dan Ives are missing. And he's actually sounded pretty positive today. We'll look at a post about that. The pressure on China right now is devastating. We are the buyer of 30% of the crap that gets sold on this earth. I'll show you some of the crap that's going up in price. And we can forego buying crap for weeks, months, or even quarters if it comes down to it. What would it cause a mess? Yes. I said, but it's important to remember that we're not talking about energy or the food supply. We're talking about crap that can wait to be purchased. Does this complicate supply chains over the short term? Buck, yes. Will it cause higher prices with cheap trash? 100%. I mean, just wait till de minimis kicks in. All of a sudden, everybody this week realized that Shein and Temu are going to get ready to get fucked. So it's good that they're catching up with what's happening. I said, does this hurt some business in the U.S.? Yes, there are businesses that will get hurt. There are some small businesses that are trying to export goods overseas. They're going to be very happy about this. There's importers that bring stuff in. They're going to be very sad about this if they get a lot of their work from China. So, but that's a part of the process, right? You want to incentivize the people that aren't focused on China to do well, and the people that are way too focused on China are going to hurt, and you want them to understand that that can come back at any moment. So we're not going to quickly look to end this trade war. We're going to let it stew. And Trump was talking about he considered 50% tariffs on China a year from now a win. I think people aren't taking him seriously. I think he could be partially serious. We'll talk more about that later. But I said, but my point is that it helps some too. 77% of small business surveyed out of 50,000 this last week said the trade war is helping their business. Again, though, this is a conservative leaning pollster, so that could be giving you bias in regard to this. So, but I don't know the historical accuracy of it. Some things like this are a lot harder to judge than like the election. I said something else that you won't hear is that China is a bigger loser every day that goes by, while America sees increased tariff revenues. And even though they're not substantial. They're just not yet. Okay. And people who still have money are either saving it, driving forward purchases. That's why we're seeing some inflationary aspects. And again, we've got Scott Bessant talking in 9 minutes. We will jump to that immediately when he comes on, or spending it somewhere else. I said, because we're not seeing large amounts of unemployment and the risks of recession here in the States are low right now when you look at an array of indicators, including credit spreads. But in China, people are getting laid off en masse. There's actually an article, I think it was Goldman Sachs, talking about 16 million people's jobs that are threatened in China. That are in the export sector. I said, hey, that's just the first order impact. The second and third are much higher than that, as exporters who cannot get rid of their goods overseas because, again, it's a closed market. The world is a closed market. If you lose 1/3 of consumer buying power, you don't find that somewhere else. And so if they can't sell that to other countries, which they're struggling with, they will dump that shit in their own market, and that's what we're seeing. And so you have producers for the domestic market that are now getting brutalized by the failure of the export market. So second order effects are kicking in, third are coming. China is in a very, very deep problem. From what I'm hearing on the Chinese side of things, from a bunch of people that I follow that are in the know and do a good job of translating things through the Great Firewall, is that the CCP is going to let Xi ride this out, and that if he fails, they'll use it as an excuse to pivot and replace him. And remember, he doesn't have a successor right now. So we'll see what that looks like. I strongly believe that's true. I actually did a post over the weekend that I said there's an 80% probability that Xi Jinping will not be the president of China between now and the end of the year, even though he's on his third unprecedented term. Anyway, let's keep going. I said something else that you won't hear is that China is a bigger loser every day that goes by while America sees increased tariff. Oh, no, we already did that. Yeah, okay. All right. I said, believe me when I say that America has to fight this fight or risk being dependent on an adversary for everything. We also, for now, still have all the power. Again, we're the consumer. We have the power right now. If another 3 years passed, if Kamala Harris would have gotten in, if we blew up our economy by just printing tons of money with no real management in sight, no embracement of Bitcoin, no pro-capitalism, no trying to bring business back here. If we did those things, we would just be royally fucked, I believe. But we're not. We're not on that path. So I said, no, Trump doesn't have to do shit, and this will go on for as long as it has to because we have no other choice. Fuck concerns of one-time price increases. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So that is one of the first things I wanted to say. And then I also said down here too, and I said, and if you're concerned that the world is falling apart, just buy Bitcoin, because if China or the USA melts down, we're going to print a lot of money. And I said, and China's like a guarantee. I said, one other point, I do believe we'll eventually see a wave of businesses failing in the United States because they're tied to Chinese markets. It's just inevitable if this goes on for too long. We're already talking about ports in Seattle and other parts of the United States that are sitting pretty empty. There will be disruptions from this. I said the above post was not meant to say that the USA won't be hurt by a long protracted trade war. We will. But China will be buried 6 feet under in that case. They have no choice but to come to the table or initiate total war. And it's really too early for them to go to war. They just don't win in that scenario. Okay, so those are my full thoughts on all of that I wanted to share with you guys. Yeah, so let's go over here. So I want to go next to tariff-related stuff. Oh, wait, tariff-related stuff. Let me find it. Predictions, that ain't it. All right, let me go over here. We'll go back to tariff-related stuff. There we go. All right, so we're sitting at 95.3 at this moment. We still got about 5 minutes until Bessant comes on. The second he does, we will be immediately over there. Dan Ives, 13 hours ago. Overall, big tech results. We're expecting generally very strong results from Microsoft. Amazing Meta and Apple. Speaks to demand trends remain very favorable in big tech. Robust cloud spending. Rebound in digital advertising and AI demand. Tariff uncertainty guide with caveats. So what he's saying is things are actually looking really positive. I wanted to talk to something else real quick here. Let me just find it. It should be in here somewhere. Good morning from Malaysia. What's up, Brian Wong? What's up, Manny? What's up, Stubble? Coup in China. I think I don't think it's yet, but I think it will come. Hef, good to be back, Jesse. Have been on vacation for 2 weeks. You've missed a lot, my friend. There's a lot going on. Nope, don't want to talk about that. Nope, don't want to talk about that. Nope, don't want to talk about that. God, so much stuff right here. Earnings. So again, I should share this with subs. Right now, we're looking at overall 75% are beating estimates for earnings, and that's out of a reporting of 36% of the S&P so far, beating by a median of 5%. Of the 25 missing, they're missing by negative 3%. Earnings are not bad. They're not bad. This is all courtesy of Fundstrat and FS Insight. If you don't have a subscription, I definitely encourage you to join. But earnings are not looking bad. So that's one thing. So again, the Magnificent Seven looking wonderful, looking to lead us up. Powerful blackout in half of Europe. I heard about Spain. I didn't hear about the other half. Where else are you guys having problems? Now tariffs, guys. I wanted to caution you guys. Prices are going up a lot. If you needed to buy thick kitchen cleaning towels, they're up 377%. If you needed to buy blinds, air conditioning, Gap brushes, they're 219%. If you are in desperate need of a manual chicken and meat shredder, you're going to pay 210%. If you're low on wax strips and post wax wipes, it's going to suck. And for the people who need their eyebrow gel and natural effect or their collagen and a cracking lip balm, you're going to suffer. It's going to be tough, okay? But here's what I'm asking you to take one for the team and refrain from making unnecessary purchases because you don't need this shit. You really don't. Your press-on toenails, glossy white, just go regular for a little bit. Your eyelash shaper tool, there's going to be a lot of pissed off women. A lot of pissed off liberal women is what I'm seeing from this top list of the highest increases. It's not going to be the conservatives. Sweet Mint Matte Pearl Shimmering Eyeshadow. Ooh, that's going to kill me. Now I'm just done. Now I'm not siding with Trump anymore, guys. But yeah, so maybe forego some of this bullshit. All right. Goldman Sachs. Yeah, so let's talk about this. This is important. U.S. tariffs threaten 16 million Chinese export jobs, says Goldman Sachs. They warn that tariffs could put up to 16 million Chinese jobs exports at risk, a very short order. There's a ton of people that are already laid off, probably in the millions, right now, temporarily, while these companies figure out if they're going to go bankrupt or if the government's going to give them a bunch of money. Again, more money printing. Especially in manufacturing for retail and wholesale. Communication equipment, apparel, and chemicals are most vulnerable. They fuck themselves. There's materials that go into plastic creation. They raised imports against all of our stuff, just like pork, hurting their own Chinese pork exporters from the United States. But anyway, they did that same kind of stuff with plastics, and then they're like, oh shit, wait, you mean all of our plastic companies are fucked? Oh, okay. Take those tariffs off. Take those tariffs off. They didn't realize, China has not realized how interdependent they are on us. They thought all the dependency was us requiring that everything be bought through China. But what they didn't realize is the upper hand is held with the consumer, because especially if you're highly dependent on them, and especially the way they structure their purchasing for exporters, these guys have to take out loans where they get a deposit. Like if there's $1 million order, they get a loan for $100,000. If they don't have the money to cover all the things that they're purchasing, because they have to purchase all the materials in advance, then they have to get a loan in order to be able to do that, especially for small manufacturers. And then they borrow money for that order. And all these orders being frozen has just fucked them financially. Some of these companies are immediately bankrupt without help. And there's tons of them. So I just want to reiterate, it says S&P Global Ratings noted that China's coastal provinces, Guangdong, Jiangsu, Shandong, Zhejiang, and Shanghai will be hit the hardest, threatening about 40% of China's GDP. 40% of China's GDP. Do you know how much of our GDP is represented by Chinese imports? 1.6%. We're impacting 40% of their GDP and worsening local debt issues. And local provinces are absolutely fucked. It's crazy. There's way more pressure on their end than there is on ours. I just want to be very clear. Way more pressure. And that's what matters, right? Whoever has the bigger hand wins in this kind of war. It's just how it works. Goldman Sachs added that Chinese companies might reroute exports through third countries to avoid tariffs. We're actually creating systems that are making this really hard. And you can already see countries like Vietnam and Thailand and a bunch of them already rejecting and going after Chinese goods that are being repackaged because they don't want to deal with us laying down the hammer. So they're saying, oh, they could do this to try and keep exports steady. Exports aren't steady. That's why the ships are fucking empty. Historically, Chinese central banks have responded to labor market pressure with rate cuts. Yes, but they've already been doing that. China's bond market today, guys, let's just take a look at it. Let's look at that Chinese 10-year right now real quick. It is bouncing slightly off of the worst lows. This is not a healthy bond market by any means. And what's happening right now is going to be catastrophic to this country if they don't get their shit in order very, very quickly. Again, and the funny thing is, these same analysts and companies, they think that the United States is going to be turning negative on our GDP, even though China. Oh shit, he's on. 1 sec. Got to go back. Skipping all my bullshit. Going back to the Bessant. Very important that we hear this guy. All right, here we go.
All set. Okay. Where are we? I know that there's a lot of questions. We just mentioned China. Let's start with China. Where are we with China? Are there negotiations? Was there a phone call with President Xi and President Trump?
You know, Joe, Treasury Secretary does a lot of things. Running the White House switchboard into one of them. So
that's his way of saying I'm not going to answer.
All aspects of government are in contact with China, and in terms of trade negotiations, we'll see where this goes. But as I've repeatedly said, that I believe that it's up to China to de-escalate, because they sell 5 times more to us than we sell to them, and so these 125, 145%
China's
tariffs are unsustainable.
Didn't people say that Trump was folding and caving to China? Does this sound like caving, guys?
We also hear about all the different countries that may be ready to deal on some level, whether it's tariffs or currency or whatever. Do you have any idea how close we are and who could be first?
Yeah,
and
he obviously
is it possible, Scott, that there could be a template that could be, we wouldn't have to do each one individually, because it seems like it's very complex and just would extend the process to months or even years to do 100 different countries. Is there any way to do something that looks almost standardized? And who would we do it with first?
Well, Joe, we do have a standardized template. We're not going to share it. But as I said before.
All right, guys, real quick. I don't pause Bessant lightly here, but yes, this is fucking crazy. MicroStrategy just bought $1.42 billion in Bitcoin at 92,737, acquiring 15,355 more. This war is on, guys. This war is on. Everybody is buying this shit now. This is going to be crazy. This is, whoa, fuck. All right, here we go. Back to Bessant.
There are 15 to 18 important trading relationships. As you said earlier, we'll put China to the side. That's a more complex negotiation. And with the other 17, especially with the other Asian countries, we've had many countries come forward and present some very good proposals, and we're evaluating those. But I tell you, Joe, when I look at these proposals, and some of them, are really willing to lower their tariffs, lower their non-tariff barriers, but I look at what they're proposing and I just think, how did we get here? How did we get here?
Right.
And I agree with President Trump. I don't blame it on these countries. I blame it on the past administrations. And it's going to be a big victory when we make progress in getting these tariffs, non-tariff trade barriers, currency manipulation, state subsidies of labor and industry off.
Been quite a bit of consternation expressed about the U.S. brand and the U.S. losing its preeminence as a place for capital allocation and investment. I want to bring up, I just happened to see it this morning, one of our frequent guests, Kyle Bass, points out, okay, you're going to go somewhere else rather than the United States. Europe is anti-growth, anti-capitalist, pro-tax, super regulatory, loose collection of broken economies.
Yep.
And points out that the Euro Stoxx 50 index has had a 1.86% annualized return for the past 20 years. The S&P 10% plus.
You're not going anywhere else.
Are you concerned that this could snowball into a point where would they go? If you don't go to Europe, where would you go? And where will Europe go? China? Is that what we're worried about?
Well, Joe, look, what this administration is committed to is keeping the U.S. the best place.
Can somebody not mow the lawn right now?
Place in the world for capital to arrive.
And
we are doing that. We're going to have tax certainty. We are going to not be taken advantage of in trade anymore, and we are going to deregulate the largest the deregulated large economy in the world. If you look at the Draghi report, he says that Europe has basically tariffed themselves. I think it's
he's right.
50% on goods, 100% on services, and we'll see if they can make any progress there. The other thing I would tell you is I imagine that the Europeans are now in a panic over the strength of the euro. And you're going to see the ECB
their exports are getting
cutting
fucked.
rates to try to get the euro back down. Europeans don't want a strong euro.
I love Bessant. He knows the world so well. This is the one person you have to be listening to. Anybody who doesn't believe in Scott Bessant is a fucking moron, even though he was fighting with Elon Musk, but whatever.
We have a strong dollar policy. We just saw this unfortunate incident where China claimed sovereignty over a Philippine island. Are you going to send your capital to a country that behaves like this?
Mr. Secretary, I have a question that relates back to China, but also back to a comment that you made last week that I think actually moved the market. So last Tuesday, you had a meeting that JP Morgan hosted. This was this private investor summit, and your comments either leaked out or got out. And those comments, if you really look at the market, moved the market materially higher on the back of them, where you said, quote, there will be a de-escalation in the very near future. That was the quote. And so my question to you is, what confidence or assurance do you have, having made that statement, when it now appears, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, that when you did meet with the Chinese last week during the IMF meeting, you did not talk about tariffs yourself, and it sounds like you're not engaged or involved in these China tariff discussions yourself. Maybe the president is. I know he said that he is, but you said that you don't know about those conversations.
Well, Andrew, first of all, to clarify the meeting with JP Morgan, there was nothing that I said in that meeting, nothing that I had not already said in the mainstream media 72 hours before. So I was surprised when the market rallied. And if you were to look at what happened.
You know why the market rallied? Because nobody actually fucking listens to Trump, Bessant, Howard Lutnick, or any of these people. They go on X or Facebook or whatever the fuck. They read a one-liner and then they're like, I know the thing now that validated my thesis because I read this line and it says the thing that I kind of believe, and therefore that is reality. Listen to these fucking people if you want to know what's actually said.
After the meeting, after I sat down for a press conference,
or at least
the market
me,
sold off. So if you bought during the meeting, you actually lost. To get to the meat of your question, that it's a complicated relationship with China, but
I think you guys are thinking about. You said keep Scott away from the topic of Tesla. He's a wizard. He never talks about Tesla. I think you're thinking of Howard, or not Howard Lutnick, but whatever, fucking Navarro.
It is my belief that which is unsustainable will not be sustained. And again, the Chinese business model is predicated on selling subsidized goods into the U.S., and it's just not a long-term business strategy.
Wait a sec. Okay, breaking Russian ceasefire. Thank you, man, Mahindra. That's going to be a big one. We'll get back to Bessant here in a second. I just need to pull that up. So Trump had to lean on Putin pretty hard over the weekend because he was being a dipshit. So did you tag me in that one, Mahindra? I'm assuming you did. Thank you for your comments. Hey, Kyle Bass just responded to me. I love this guy. What is going on?
Yeah. Something done.
Oh, we don't need that right now. All right. Where is this? Can you tag me on that? Can you tag me on that post? There we go. Thank you, sir. Russian. Okay, I'm going to put this out there, assuming that it's right, coinciding with, okay, I'm just going to get this out there. Let's get back to Scott, but that's big news, guys. Again, we'll talk about some more of that later, but Zelensky and Trump met over the weekend. Putin, like a dipshit, was bombing a bunch of civilians and killing innocent people, like he tends to do, because he's a horrible fucking person. But Trump said, "Hey, you need to stop this. We need to know that you believe in some kind of peace deal." And now we're hearing about a 3-day ceasefire. That would be a great start. Putin actually needs to fucking do it. If he doesn't, we need to lay down the law, and I'll tell you later on what I think we can do to apply massive pressure to that asshole. All right, one sec. Let's go.
For them, so I am sure that they will come and want to de-escalate.
Right, but that's just so we're 100% clear. And by the way, you may very well be right. I actually happen to agree with you on that front, but I'm agreeing with you in the context of just my presumption that that is correct, not because I've engaged in conversations with them directly.
Sorkin is such a cuck sometimes. I just swear to God, he's the most loose, non-conviction person, perfect for a newscaster. Even though I did like the All In podcast this last week, that was really good, and he was on it.
And it sounds like you haven't either. Just so we're all on the same page.
Andrew, just to feed the news cycle, I'm not going to talk about where we are or not. What we're going to do is create the best deal for the American people, and that is obviously not done on television.
Mr. Secretary, last Friday, Time magazine published an interview with President Trump where he said that he could see a year from now 50% tariffs on goods coming from China. Is that a future you could envision?
Again, Becky, we're going to have to see where the de-escalation takes us. President Trump is leading for the important trading partners. President Trump is leading the negotiations, and we'll see what he decides on.
Mr. Secretary, earlier this morning, Japan's economic minister said that there would be no change to our stance, that we are demanding full removal of U.S. tariffs. Can you speak to where our conversations are with the Japanese? Because clearly, at least publicly, they seem to be pushing back.
That's true, Mike. That's true.
Well, again, Andrew, if they want to litigate the negotiations in the press, they have an election coming up, an upper house election coming up in July, so I can't imagine that they would say anything else. I don't think they're going to come out and say, oh, whatever the U.S. wants, sure, we'll do it. But I will tell you that the negotiations with our Asian trading partners are going very well. Vice President Vance was in India last week, talked about substantial progress. I have mentioned that the negotiations with the Republic of Korea have gone very well, and I think we've had some very substantial negotiations with our Japanese allies.
That he's so good. Just pointing out the fact that there's an election and there's a lot of rhetoric going on right now. Brilliant. He's so good.
Secretary, China quietly, it says here, exempting certain goods from tariffs that they need.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Which shows their dependence on a lot of, or interdependence with the United States on many, many different things. Similarly, the Trump administration has announced quite a few exemptions on some of the reciprocal tariffs for things that we absolutely need here. Isn't this sort of an opening for what negotiations would look like? And would you just take a complete decoupling with China off the table right now, since we know global trade has benefited the globe. We don't want zero global trade. But doesn't this indicate what's at stake here?
Well, Joe, I think this makes my point that the Chinese, they are exempting all these goods, tells me that they want a de-escalation. And what we haven't done is escalate by embargoing those goods or putting a trade ban on those goods, which we could, if we needed to gain more leverage. We haven't done it. They've actually given us a list of what comes from the U.S. that is valuable to them. And, I can tell you, I do have an escalation ladder in my back pocket, and we're very anxious not to have to use it.
Oh, I love that, dude. He's like, we are ready to go, bitches, but we don't want to.
Mr. Secretary, Gary Cohn was on Face the Nation yesterday, and he said that he thinks we're weeks away from starting to see the effects of this actually show up, whether it be in prices or, I guess to some
it's probably this week.
extent you could suggest in shortages of certain items. Where do you think we stand just in terms of how long it will be before Americans really start to feel this?
Becky, I can't tell you what various retailers have done in terms of stockpiling, in terms of substitution, in terms of
it's too much minutia.
I didn't see Gary's interview.
Mr. Secretary, I have a separate question about Apple and maybe manufacturing in the U.S. or manufacturing as it relates to this trade war potentially with China. You saw last week that there was a news story. Apple may be moving or may try to move all of its manufacturing of iPhones that are exported to the United States or imported into the United States, moving that manufacturing from China to India. And I'm curious what you think of that. That might be an improvement.
I wonder. I don't think he'll speak to this
manufactured
either.
in China,
Maybe
but it's
vaguely.
also not manufacturing it here in the U.S.
In regard to our India relationship.
Well, Andrew, I think maybe it speaks to China being an unreliable trade partner, and again, going to these aggressive actions against the Philippines. And
Vietnam,
as
over
I
the
mentioned,
weekend.
I would guess that India would be one of the first trade deals we would sign. So watch this space.
Mr. Secretary, should we assume that regardless of what we hear or in being reported and sourced or however it's going on, that there are discussions going on between the United States and China at all times and probably at most different levels, both high and low? Should we ignore a lot of the noise and just assume that in earnest both countries are trying to, as you say, de-escalate? Can we put that in the bank?
Well,
No.
Joe, these are the two largest economies in the world, so
Yes.
there are a lot of touch points. As you know, last week was IMF World Bank week in D.C. I had my Chinese counterparts here, and we talked about what you talk about at IMF World Bank meetings. We talked about financial stabilities. You looked ahead to trying to prevent financial crises. You talked about global.
One sec. I'm still fuzzy on the Chinese delegation that was seen entering the Treasury. I think from listening to Bessant, he's indicated that it was just normal talk, but I don't know if that was in reference to the IMF or if it was with these guys that came to the Treasury and had IDs that were obviously Chinese. I'm really fuzzy.
Financial regulation. So there are lots of touch points all the time.
Okay, we'll leave it at that then, and just assume that that both sides have an interest, a mutual interest, I think, in getting to a better place. We appreciate your time, as we always do. Mr. Secretary, thanks.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Coming up, we're going to...
What a stud. Just crushing it. All right, real quickly, let me put this down in the corner, and then we'll go over here. Oh, yeah, this is unusual whales, I think. Yeah, I was just looking at some of it. Doesn't look too bad. I don't know what the different tiers are and I don't need data downloads, and I don't know about, I don't know. We'll see. I got to look at it more. But let's get back over here. So, again, the thing I was trying to say earlier is that the amount of impact that's going to be felt in China is significantly higher than anything that's going to happen in the United States, okay? So 40% of China's GDP could be devastated by these 16 million job losses, and their economy wasn't good before that. We'll talk about this and a lot more in a second here. And so I just set up here, this doesn't include second and third order impacts, which will be devastating. And we talked about that a little bit earlier, how the exporters are turning inward and dumping into the domestic market in order to try and compensate. Also here too, I just found this funny. It said, add pork to the list of things China is now refusing to buy from America: beef, soybean, gas, LNG, Boeings. I just thought this was fucking hilarious because there's this company called Smithfields that's the largest, I think the largest producer of pork in the United States of America, and they're owned by a Chinese company, but based in the U.S. So are they not buying their own fucking goods now? Yeah, it just, again, there's some humor here. And also this, Ray Wang said, Walmart and other U.S. retailers reportedly notified Chinese suppliers to resume shipments, but tariffs costs will be on the U.S. firms. So several Chinese exporters said that the major U.S. retailers, including Walmart, have confirmed or have informed some Chinese suppliers to resume shipments after communicating with the U.S. government with the tariffs to be borne by the American buyers, according to Hong Kong's Ming Pao at the ongoing China import and export tariff at Canton Fair. China lies all the time, guys. I don't know that you can believe any of this. So here's what I wanted to caution, and I asked this guy, hey, do you have any confirmation? I didn't get anything from him or anything from the original poster. So in the original poster, I think is down here, which is Zhaobao, which is, again, in China. So I just don't know. I don't know that you can make any kind of assumption at all with this. Let's see. Can I switch this to English? English? Whatever. All right, whatever. Yeah, there we go. All right, U.S. retailers such as Walmart have reportedly notified. So I don't know how true any of this is, okay? So I don't know that you can believe any of this. China lies all the time, but I wanted to put it out there. I've seen zero confirmations from American retailers, any of these guys, that this is happening. So just keep it in the back of your mind as something they've reported and that we don't know the truth of. MicroStrategy ATM only has 128.7 million left. Expect a new ATM announcement at earnings this week. Very possible. Klevman, good morning from Sweden. Good morning, sir. LW Crypto shipping from China, all good to empty ships. Yeah, 40%. It sounds like 40% right now of them are empty. They're not canceling, but they're just shipping without goods. They're ghost ships. I said, when asked why China would say, yeah, this was in regard to that comment about right here. So I hate I hate investing.com. I think they're shit. Just like Fortune and all these others, they lie all the time. They said Bessant says he's unaware of any U.S.-China tariff talks despite Trump claim. That's kind of, a horrible headline. What he said is he was asked about China, why China would say that Trump isn't speaking to Xi, and Scott said, I think they're playing to a different audience. He didn't say that he didn't know about anything. He really said that there's conversation happening across all spectrums of it, and they might be saying that for this reason. So I think that's probably a better description. They should just delete this headline. Yeah. Bessant, up to China to de-escalate all respects of government in contact with China. Yes, that's the real headline. Yes, Drexler, that's 100% on. All right, so Trump sees no red line that would change his tariff policy per The Atlantic. I said this is his way of saying fuck around and find out. Oh, one sec. All right, sorry, saying goodbye to my wife and my baby girl. So again, this said 31 tariff on a $22 dress for a total of 54. Temu is fucked, right? Temu is absolutely fucked. Shein is fucked. And this is good. We want these things to die because they were crushing American retail exports completely and utterly, and from around the world, right? They're making it to where we're completely uncompetitive with the rest of the world. Anybody trying to spin up a shop here stood zero chance. The power outage in Southern Europe is still ongoing and potentially getting worse. That's insane. You know what Europe should do? If you guys want to really screw it to Vladimir Putin, you should buy your fucking energy from America. You should get your oil and your gas from America. We want to produce more anyway, and the more you produce, the better your cost metrics become. So we could actually make it to where U.S. exporters are still profitable at lower price points, even given certain extraction methods. And so I think that it would be awesome if you guys did that. That way you're not feeding $30 billion a year to Putin's war machine, and then spending another 35 or 40 to try and get it to where you can fight the war that Ukraine is fighting against Putin, while at the same time giving him all the money for the energy to fight on his side. So that would be a great way for us to resolve a lot of potential issues, I feel like. And again, what they were talking about was Japan Economic Minister Akazawa said there's no change to our stance. We're demanding full removal of U.S. tariffs. I said no, not that I have any say, but that's the answer. And then we have Market News has Trump says tariffs could lead to income taxes for those earning under $200,000 a year. They're upping the ante even more. Trump says U.S. ships should have free use of Panama and Suez canals. That seems to be new. I know that we were talking about allowing first entry and the ability for us to move through the canals first. This is a new one to me. I don't think that was in there before. Trump says China must take substantial concessions or tariffs will not be removed. This is not caving. Again, I love Amit, but Amit, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about when it comes to China news. I do. China to lower departure tax refund threshold and raise refund limit to 20,000 won. I don't even know what that is. Do you guys know what that is? The reference to departure tax? I'm going to click here real quick in Grok. I don't know well enough what that's referencing. Let's just see here. China's response, including lowering its departure tax threshold for foreign tourists from 500 to 200 and raising the refund limit to 20,000 won, aiming to boost inbound consumption amid a trade war while retaliating with 84% tariffs on the. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that's going to work at all. Nobody gives a fuck about China right now. Nobody's looking to get involved. All right, let's keep going. Jesse, I saw your comment on MSTX dividend. Do you know the details? I don't. Somebody was talking about it this morning. I'm doing like 100 things at once. They issue dividends all the time. I'll pull that up real quick here. So the question that they asked earlier in a post, guys, was, hey, Jesse, I heard that MSTX was going to do another dividend. Maybe it says it down here. Best leverage ETF derivatives, best performing. I don't see anything about that. But they did a dividend over here, and it was a large one, $14.42. They did a dividend right over here, and that was when it was at $37.23. So that is what? That would bring them to like $51, $52 a share. So closer to back up to here before that cascading drop. So they do give out a dividend every once in a while. I don't even know why they did the last one, but it sounds like they're going to do another one. And if they do that, since I'm in an IRA, if you're not in an IRA, what normally happens is it gets distributed as income. I'm in an IRA, so mine will just get lumped into more MSTX stock. So mine will just go up even more, and I don't really care, and it doesn't really have any impact on me. So that's what I was kind of saying, is mine will just get redistributed back into the stock again, and I'm good with that. Real quickly, just talking about this morning, guys. So it's almost 7:30. Let's make sure that we don't have economic data to speak about super fast here. Let me just go back. Also, I'm keeping an eye on shipping. I probably added about 15 hours a week to my research in regard to shipping and transportation, just so I can be more abreast of it and understand what I'm talking about. So I'm definitely I'm paying attention is all I wanted to say. I should actually, let me just do majors. I know I don't want to do that. Let me just do the United States for now. We'll pull in some others. I might do Canada and Mexico too for now. I don't like to do everybody. It's just throws out too much noise. So we do have, it looks like not until 9:30, we have Dallas Fed manufacturing. So we really don't have anything running for a while. And that should be an interesting one that went really red. We've seen a lot of those data points getting worse. We're going to be talking about a lot of that today too. Shay, I don't really follow Shay too much, but I know he's done really well as like an X guy. He's grown a lot. He's got 165,000 followers, appearing on Fox Business, I think a lot, maybe some other stuff. But he said, where I stand in the market right now, at first, China's official denial of trade talks looked like the kind of headline you learn to tune out. But the longer I sat with it, the harder it was to shake the feeling that something was a bit different this time. Not because what they said, but because of what it revealed. Trump gave them a clean off-ramp, a 50% reduction in tariffs, a public way to save face, a chance to de-escalate without appearing to capitulate. And instead of stepping into it, Beijing chose to deny the very existence of talks. That's not the move of a confident negotiating partner. That's the move of a cornered one. Because if you have leverage, you use it. If you don't, you lie. China lies all the time. The stream is freezing. Is the stream freezing for anybody else? Let me know if the stream's freezing. If refresh doesn't help, let me know, guys. Okay? I'm not seeing any issues on this end. So he said, this isn't some abstract diplomatic spat. It's a signal of the real health of China's internal capacity. Not freezing. Okay, thank you. Our internal economy. And the signal isn't subtle. Beijing is openly weighing suspensions of 125% tariffs on critical U.S. imports like ethane. The ethane is what's required for the plastics and medical equipment, not because they want to, but because industries vital to China's own manufacturing ecosystem are starting to fracture under the weight of their own policies. I'm really liking Shay. Very well said. I don't know that I write things as well as he is. Export economies are machines that depend on frictionless flow. When supply chains seize, when raw materials dry up, when cost structure buckles, you can't propaganda your way out. You either fix it or you fall behind. And that's where the recalibration starts. It would be a mistake to pretend that the U.S. is negotiating from total dominance. We're not. Agreed. Domestic politics are unstable, yes, but we're good for a while. We can probably rock these tariffs for months, maybe even quarters. So I do think, and again, we have to worry about re-election campaigns at the end of 2026, whatever. Not a big issue right now. This will be done way before that. Debt burdens are rising and economic certainty is still thick in the air, but it's equally a mistake to assume that China holds a perfect hand. They don't. They're so flawed. And it's good to see that people like Shea are starting to get this. They don't. And if the past week was shown anything, it's that their position is weaker and more reactive than market. Yes, again, 16 million potential job losses. It's enough to shift to full offense. The regime of volatility, mistrust, and rumor-driven trading is still very much alive. I agree. The headlines are about secret meetings, anonymous G20 badges, and people familiar with talks tell you everything you need to know about the hunger for a clean narrative and the absence of one. Markets don't price wishful thinking. They price clarity. They price leverage. And right now, the only thing clear is neither side has fully achieved it. I would argue, though, and this post is from about, when is this post? This post is April 26th, so again, a couple days ago. I would argue that the market is starting to realize who holds the leverage. Again, today we've got MicroStrategy up almost 2%. We got Mara up 1. We've got CleanSpark up 1.22. We've got Palantir up 0.47. We've got SoFi up 1%, and maybe 2. I can't quite tell. There's so many things that are starting to do well in the United States, and we're going to look at some charts too of the NASDAQ and others because we've got some really good technicals that we're looking at right now that I'm very excited about. I want to see something real quick here on CNBC. Sorry to jump around. There's going to be probably a lot of that today. I want to see what this Asian man from Constellation Research is saying because I think, if I remember correctly, he's fairly tied in to the Chinese market and not just because of the way he looks. 1 second here. All right, here we go.
This week, 4 of the Mag 7 companies are reporting results. Joining us right now on what to expect is Ray Wang. He is Constellation Research founder and chairman. And hi, Ray.
Hi,
Ray, you own all 7 of the Mag 7. Are you feeling better about any of them these days?
It's
versus
gotten
the
better,
others, I mean.
as I tell people.
I could be wrong, but he looks Asian. He's got the eyes of my friend Tony. Tony, I'm just kidding. Don't ban me.
We're typically 3 trade deals away from a recovery. But the reason I'm so excited about this is we're basically seeing a doubling of AI intelligence every 7 months. And if we look at Moore's law for 50 years, compute doubled 2 times every 2 years, there's kind of a new law. Let's call it Ray's law. In 2 years, it's 15 times. So at a 7-month doubling rate, in 6 years, AI intelligence capacities and capabilities can be doubling 1,000x. Right. And so that's why I'm interested, because
smart.
a lot of these companies have been investing in AI. And that's why.
No, I got a friend, Tony, who I hang out with quite a bit. He's a good shit. He's really awesome. But not from LC Signs, even though I love that guy too.
I think there's, in the long run, it's a good market. But right now, it's a little bit scary because we are in a tariff situation and we are in a market reset. And that's why it's been a little bit slow.
Well, Alphabet did say that it is spending a lot. What was the number? $75 billion that they expect to spend this year. And I guess maybe that reinforces some of the ideas that the AI spending is.
Does anybody see CapEx dropping off a cliff right now? I don't. Not for big tech, not for AI.
It's here to stay, but we still have to hear from Meta, from Microsoft. Who am I missing?
It's going to be a fun week.
We've got Apple, and we also have Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
Yep.
So what do you expect to hear from those
Amazon?
biggies?
I'm worried about.
Yeah. So when we think about what's going on the Meta side, we're going to look at what's happening with the earnings in terms of ads. We're still expecting double-digit growth. It's probably going to be a 40 billion plus quarter. Expect modest gains in
I heard something about like 10 to 15% of ad revenue coming from like companies like Shein and Temu. Does anybody know if that's true? If so, I could see them taking a hit here soon. It might not show up in this quarter.
Their metric is daily active people, family DAP. So DAP's probably going to grow about 3 to 4%.
Plus, again, so much of their business was companies selling out of China. So I just feel like we're going to see some massive shipping reductions. Maybe not pandemic level, but it's going to be crazy. It seems to me like Amazon is going to get hit.
but the ad impressions look like they were good for Q1. But that's not what investors care about. Investors will be looking to see, is the forecast going to...
Sorry, I was jumping across two. The first part, the 15% ads or whatever, that might be Amazon too. I'm not sure.
Be down? What's their CapEx spending on AI? Did they manage to get rid of most of Reality Labs? And then on the Microsoft side, it's a little bit different. We're looking to see how Azure is doing. And instead of growing in the 30% numbers, you're going to see a drop down to 17 to 18%, as we saw with all the other large hyperscalers. The growth rates aren't in the 20s and 30%. So it's down to 17 to 18%. And of course, you're still going to see a pretty good quarter growth that people are looking at about $69 billion in terms for the quarter. And then Apple, of course, everyone's looking to see what the impact of tariffs were. Was there a spike as everybody rushed to buy iPhones before the tariffs were kicking in? Or, were they able to continue to grow their services piece, which is the big part? And then, of course, did Amazon take a hit as well because of tariffs and their impact on China? Or did they manage to continue to grow the ad business as well as their cloud business? So I think everyone's looking carefully to see what those forecasts are for Q2.
Earnings have come down for a lot of sectors, not for these big tech companies. They have not had much wiggle room at all when it comes.
Yeah, having existing inventories will help them for now if the tariff war is short. Correct, Henry. Yes, very much so. JT says I want to own every Jesse AI agent so I can hear him and get amped up in my morning. Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome? LW Crypto, Robinhood Markets is scheduled to release its first quarter 2025 earnings on Wednesday, April 30th after market close. The earnings conference call will take place the same day. I might have to do some of those. Jesse, you're no NPC. Many humans seem to be. But I think I can be replaced by an LLM, though. I think I have enough. There's enough quips and comments over the last almost 2 years that I've been doing this for video content and for posts on X where I think I can be LLM'd. I think... I mean, it might not be as raw as me sometimes, but I think he can pull it off.
Comes to what Wall Street's expecting, is that okay?
Well, they're priced to perfection, and that's part of the problem. And I think that's what makes investors nervous. But if you go and look to see what other business models are out there, the Mag 7 still have digital business models. They're built on ads and search and services and goods and memberships and subscriptions. And those 6 areas are pretty strong. And some of them do all 6, like Amazon, very well. And others are, you'd say, 1 or 2 trick ponies.
AWS will probably save them.
Ponies, and that's the issue.
There must be a pony in there somewhere. Hey, Ray, did you ever sell any of your holdings in these companies, or did you add a lot more to your positions when the stocks came down a lot?
Selectively adding, mostly because I bet.
This isn't as interesting as I was hoping for, so we're going to kill that real quick here. Again, no real economic data till 9:30. Lots going on. We got MicroStrategy buying over 15,000 Bitcoin for almost a $1.5 billion, $1.2 billion, whatever the number was. Just some crazy metrics. Let's see here. What is this? Oh, yeah, back to Shay. Let's see here. Under the surface, something has shifted. China's visible desperation to control the story rather than control the outcome marks a real change in the pressure dynamics. So I've been saying this all along. I knew this crack was coming, but it's nice to see other people starting to see this. And he said it's not happening in a vacuum because while all the noise is focused on geopolitics and macro panic, something more important and far more enduring is quietly humming underneath the chaos. The engines of the fourth industrial revolution are starting to run. I agree with all that. That's happening too. I'm going to skip that part though. But he's a smart guy. I like the way he thinks and the way he talks. Again, we got Treasury Secretary Bessant talking about how he was meeting with Turkey. We already talked about that one. Let me just refresh here because I feel like there's some things that might have been missed, and I want to make sure that I don't skip them. And maybe we already went over all the tariff-related ones. It's possible. We did go through a lot. Oh, right over here. Okay. So yeah, there are a few more. So again, China's vice commerce minister says that China will actively expand exports. And so Zero Hedge is like, wait, what the fuck is going on here? Isn't that what America is asking for? And so I said, hey, China's completely flipped after Scott Bessant's talk about Mar-a-Lago Accord last week, ? I don't know if that's true. I did for my friend Robert Enfra here. I handed him over this speech from the Mar-a-Lago Accord conversation that was happening at the IIF last week. because I think that's very insightful. And he was asking about it. China Uncensored said the CCP is doing everything it can to prevent Apple from moving iPhone production to India. This is economic warfare and a little bit of karmic retribution. So earlier this year, Chinese authorities refused to allow one of Apple's Chinese equipment suppliers to export machinery to India that Apple needed for the upcoming iPhone 17's trial production, according to two people with direct knowledge of the matter. So the supplier got creative. It set up a front company in Southeast Asia to buy the machines. Once the equipment reached the Southeast Asia country, it went to a factory in India operated by Foxconn. We're basically using the same techniques that China has used against us for years. We're using them against them now, as far as redirecting like any tariffs that we put on them, redirecting it to other countries in order to be able to bypass them. So I think this is beautiful, but it does show that China's desperate to try and keep companies like Apple in their jurisdiction. It says in many cases, Chinese authorities are delaying or blocking shipments of iPhone equipment to India without explanation, according to multiple people involved in iPhone production. Foxconn has seen approval times from Chinese authorities for exporting iPhone-making equipment from its China factories to those in India rise from 2 weeks to as long as 4 months. One of the people said they are also rejecting some export applications without explanation. Currently, Apple assembles roughly 20% of its phones in India. Some people thought it was 15. I told them it's 20. It's 20. A number that's taken several years to build up. Per the report, Apple wants to take things much further, though, with a long-term goal of moving about half of its iPhone production out of China. I think it'll probably end up being a lot more than that, but they're keeping the number low officially. MicroStrategy earnings on Thursday at 5 p.m. Any chance that you'll cover it? Yeah, I'm probably going to. I'm probably going to cover a lot of the big ones. Let me see here real quick. Do we have this pulled up? Let me look here for the week. So I don't care about PayPal, SoFi, Starbucks. I don't really care about any of this right now. Probably not doing that. Amit does Hood. Probably just going to watch that. Don't really care. I do care about ADP employment-related stuff. That'll be an interesting one. And then out of all of these, MicroStrategy will be the one. Yeah, so my only real earnings one will probably be Thursday with MicroStrategy, and I will do one for that. Yes. So with MSTR up 50% since 4.8, MSTX is up 148% over that same time frame. That sounds about right. I've made a lot of money off of it. Yeah, that sounds about right. And then there's other companies too, guys, like Solana. There's so many. MSTR is doing really good. Solana is doing really good with Sol Strategies. Look at this. So Solana has bounced from the bottom here, which it hit about the beginning of this month. So in less than a month, Solana's up 58%, but that pales in comparison to Sol Strategies. Let's see what we're at now. So Sol Strategies bottomed about March 10th. I could take that April 1st date too, to try and get to it, but it bottomed under a different time frame. But if you look here, Sol Strategies is up 159% over that same time frame, so kind of acting like that 3x multiplier. It was up 40%, guys, just on Friday. Fucking crazy. But I'm enjoying that purchase. That's been kind of cool and working out all right. I'll probably keep this over here. Oh, yeah, I'll move the Solana out, and then we'll just pull up MicroStrategy just real quick here since we were talking about it. Tesla up about 1.26. We're looking like a pretty decent market start today, and I don't really see a lot of turmoil pushing us down unless China throws out some news or Trump says something people don't like. Here's what I do like about MicroStrategy. I like that we're getting above. So we're getting close to, if you look at the bottom right corner, getting through that red layer of resistance for Bitcoin. And at the same time, we're looking to probably jump pretty high here and get back up to the 400 range within MicroStrategy. So if we get above that red zone in Bitcoin, I could see MicroStrategy jumping a decent chunk here and getting above the 400 range, or at least to it. So it's still down about, what is it down right now in pre-market? It's still down about 31% from its all-time high. But again, this thing is rocking and rolling. Might start to take a little bit in profit today. I haven't done that really at all yet. And I might start to enjoy just a small amount of profit from that today. Oh, and what I didn't do this morning was update my portfolio. I'm going to try and do that tonight for sure, since I haven't been good about it. I was doing it like a little over a month every month, which is getting really bad. And I got that to almost 2 weeks, but I'm going to try and get it to weekly. I'm going to really, really try to get it to weekly. I just haven't found a good way to automate it so it sucks and just becomes laborious. And then when the market's down, it's also depressing and laborious. So, but I'm still tracking it all, and I'll try and get it done tonight because I really should. But I'm excited. I'm excited about all this, guys. I think we're getting ready to make a lot of money here. I'm sitting. I haven't done the official numbers, but it's around 3.5, 3.6 million, I think, right now. And again, here's one of the Zero Hedge articles that I'm able to get now because of the fact that I'm subscribed. I think this is a premium article. There's a lot of content in here, guys. A lot of content. This is probably where a lot of other people get their stuff too. So it's just another tool in our chest, in our arsenal. It's a lot of fun. Let's see here. The framework prepared by the Trade Partners Office lays out broad categories for negotiation. Talks with 18 partners. Okay. All right. I don't know if this might be good. I think we covered a lot of this. Again, pork prices going way down, even though they aren't buying from their own companies. I just think that's hilarious. I don't know. There's probably more in here, but 10 tariff questions never asked. Let's look at that real quick here. How much Zero Hedge premium? I think it was like $35 a month is what I'm paying if you pay monthly. But I'm just getting into it. But I find it interesting. You just have to realize he's politically biased. I say that as somebody who is also politically biased, but I try not to let that cloud my judgment too much. But again, there's a lot of good actual data in there. If you ignore the politics of it, there's actually good data. So let's just look at this real quick here. The Rod Martin report that he's got. Never asked. Okay, let's just look at his post. He must have his own site. Nope, not right now. So Trump's so-called trade tariff war. Let me just see if there's anything interesting. Do nations prefer surplus or deficits? I don't want to go into all this. I'll read it first before I talk to it. I think that's better. So right, bro, U.S. tariffs on China, trade war, trouble for China's tilapia farms. U.S. tariffs on China, trouble in tilapia farms, and southern Chinese Maoming tilapia are more than just a food staple. The fish are the livelihood and source of income and a way of life for thousands of people. 16 factories dot the city, churning tilapia into fillets for export. Much of it's supermarket freezers in the United States. But the ongoing U.S. trade war has put operations in jeopardy. Round after round of tariffs have left China's $425 million in tilapia exports to the U.S. facing duties of 170%. Don't buy tilapia, buy bacon. It sounds like effectively pricing them out of the largest export market. So there's just so many different impacts like this that are really fascinating to see. And I'm trying to keep abreast with all these people that deal with Chinese exports and transportation and the shipping sector so that I can give you guys as much information as I possibly can. I did want to speak to this. I said, this doesn't have to be the end of the world. Think of it as a reset and then a springboard. Heck, if the experiment doesn't work, this tariff experiment, we'll still be the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry because we're embracing freedom, capitalism, and Bitcoin. This is off of this. So Fred Krueger, you can tell people that want to hate Trump right now are getting tons and tons of views, and I think Chinese bots are probably helping with it. So Fred Krueger got 3 million views. This guy's kind of a loser for the most part. I think he follows me, so sorry for saying that. Let me look. Yeah, he does. Okay. But 3 million views on this, 35,000 likes. Let's get him another one. Nah, fuck it. Says, here we go. 46% of toy companies in the U.S. say they export, they'll go out of business within weeks because they buy all the stuff from China. 128,000 federal workers lost their jobs in the last 60 days. Good. 40% of cargo ships leaving China for the U.S. were empty today. Good. Shoes expected to go up 87%. I don't know about you guys. I got like 8 fucking pairs of shoes. If you have one, you're probably good. Take some time and chill. Apparel expected to go up. You know what? I just bought some pants. I think I'm good. I got a bunch of clothes over here in my office. I think I'm just going to chill on that too. Tourism down 20%. You know what? That's okay. That should probably change. You know why? Because our dollar is dropping. And when the dollar drops, it actually makes tourism easier to accomplish. So I think that number is going to get better on its own. All foreign goods up at least 10% on USD alone. Good. Fuck it. We want to tariff these guys because we want to start creating some revenue for the United States like we used to do back in the day, way before the Great Depression happened. Again, tariffs were raised in a substantial way at the beginning of the 20s, and it created the roaring 20s. Lots of other bad things kind of happened that led us to the Depression. And when we raised rates or raised tariffs again, that second round ended up contributing to the Great Depression. But there were a lot of other mechanics that were involved in it as well. And he says, I know, Bessant. He didn't even spell his fucking name right. A genius, 40 chess. This guy's a fucking idiot. Sorry if you're watching this, Fred, but you're kind of fucking stupid. And yeah, anyway. Let's keep going. Yeah, he's a fucking idiot. And he was shilling a bunch of shit coins. Fuck you. All these people who shilled the shit coins. Fuck you. Japan contemplates importing more U.S. corn in tariff negotiations. So these guys are like, remove all the tariffs from us, but we'll buy more of your corn. Okay, thanks, Japan. Press Secretary Karen Levitt. Oh, that's old. We'll leave that alone. Trump just tweeted about Canada. Ooh, that should be fun. Maybe we'll have to look at that in a second. I do want to go to U.S. economy. And, yeah, we can look at Canada. You know what? Let's see what he said. If you guys see those two, can you tag me on it? Canada, Trump. Let's try that. That way it's easier to find. Trump, America can no longer subsidize Canada. Oh, that's fair. Blah, 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 blah. Yep. I mean, we got a huge trade deficit with them, and I get it. All right, let's keep going. U.S. economy. There are comparisons between tariffs and COVID supply chain shocks, says Michael. He's from Germany. I like this guy. I don't always agree with what he has to say, but he's pretty all right. Horrible with Tesla. He said they're different. There will be disruptions for non-essential goods manufactured in Asia, but unlike during COVID, corporations will pay higher prices for critical components to avoid production halts at home. Yes, if for critical, and that's the key. And I do agree with that. So we will see price increases that are associated with critical components, and then people who have too much money to spend or are too dumb to pay attention to the fact that they're paying 300% for their collagen lip balm. Yeah, that's true. And so this shows container bookings from China to the U.S. are falling sharply. Yes, that's true. I actually need to look at this over a longer period of time. Shit, I dropped my pen. Hey, I got another one. I like to play with a pen, so we need one. All right. I would like to actually see this going back. It only goes to the beginning of this year. I don't think that's very fair. I want to look at and see what it looks like going back into 2008, 2000, all that kind of stuff. So I'll give you a better idea. But I do agree with all that. Chinese imports only make up 1.6% of U.S. GDP. Yeah, so again, James E. Thorne posted, for the record, some facts. In 2024, U.S. import of goods from China were approximately 462.62 million or billion, according to the United Nations Comtrade database. To be clear, that number is low. There's a bunch of imports that we're getting from other countries where China dumps into them since the 2016-17 tariffs that were put upon them. They dump into other countries, and then those countries import into here. And so there's actually a lot more imports coming from China to the United States. So they're even more impacted than what this number reflects. He said, with the U.S. GDP estimated at around 28.65 trillion, imports from China account for roughly 1.6%. So let's say it's 1.8 or 1.9% at least with what's not included in these numbers. But I do agree with this. It's a very low percentage of our GDP, which is what he's trying to state, right? And then they're telling us that we're going to get negative GDP growth in the United States from what's happening with these tariffs, which is funny because they're saying that China's still growing at over 4% GDP with revisions, and yet their bond market's running at 1.65 for the 10-year. It's just, there's so many lies coming out of China. Kyle Bass, to the people investing, so they showed this earlier. Here's the actual tweet. To the people investing haphazardly into Europe, have you been there lately? Europe is anti-growth, anti-capitalistic, pro-tax, super regulatory, loose collection of broken economies that are tariffing the shit out of each other, that are seeing in the UK the largest amount of outflow of millionaires of any other country outside of China, beating Russia. Says a lot. It's travel destination and retirement community for the world. It would be great, but no. Apollo just released a 40-page deck on the impacts of tariffs. The EU is a homeless shelter? Agreed. I used to do research on tilapia, trap fish, buy U.S. catfish. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. All right, so real quickly, this Apollo thing. So one, S&P firms with lower 12-month EPS revisions as a percentage of total revisions. So I like this, actually. I like that these are getting near pandemic levels. Manufacturing survey order outlook has collapsed, as it should. We're in a tariff war. Sharp decline of U.S. corporate capital expenditure plans. We don't like that CapEx is going down. We don't like that. We saw the big uptick, and then we saw discussions of that coming down. But that's what it is. What it is. This a trade war in the. Again, I misunderstood the size and gravity of what Trump was willing to endure for pain. This tariff war is a huge one, directly targeted at China, but also trying to correct a bunch of imbalances around the world. So yes, this creates massive uncertainty that will lower CapEx. It will. Now, there's some CapEx that's coming in, though, that we know about into the United States, right? Because of the tariff wars. And so I think you'll see that drop. And then when we start to get more certainty on the tariff war, you're going to see that ramp up in a substantial way. That's my thought. Cost pressures increasing based on Fed manufacturing survey. Yes, because of all the front loading. Again, everybody was front loading, trying to get goods in as quickly as they could. You saw shipping, container freight indexes starting to climb. You saw prices increasing. But that's going to start to roll over for some things. Again, tariff things, you'll still see prices higher, and there will be some rollover effect, but you'll also see prices getting lowered in other things just to try and get anything to sell. So it's going to be a weird combination of shit until this becomes clearer. Inventories rising sharply prior to the tariff impact, again, front running, trying to build up inventory so that they can ride out the storm. And here's the great thing about all of that, is that riding out. So what that did was it buffered all the U.S. companies like Target, Walmart, all these others, right? It buffered them from some of the immediate fallout. Now, the manufacturers don't get a buffer. Their orders just fucking stopped. And again, we don't know if there's any validity around the Walmart, Target claims of them saying, go ahead and just reproduce. I haven't seen anything like that from sources that are not Chinese. So that might not even be real. But with all these plants shut down, they're fucked now. We're not fucked now. We're not. Not yet. So again, this is just another good thing for us to see that the inventory is ramped up so much here. That gives us wiggle room. U.S. trucking sales dropped sharply in March. Yes. But again, if you look at 2020, you look at where we're riding, we're just starting to fall. These will fall more. I totally agree with that. There'll probably have to be some bailout that we do with farming. There'll probably have to be some bailout that we do with that we do in regard to like the transportation sector in the United States and shipping industry to try and help them while they deal with low volumes. I'm sure we'll have some bailouts coming. The money printer is going to go burr. CEO confidence is declining. I am perfectly okay with that. It was rising greatly from 2022 to 2024. People got excited at the beginning of 2025 too. That's where we got this big pop. And now it's falling sharply because they're like, fuck, I don't know what to do. Let's hold off on everything. That's pretty normal response. Container ship count departures from China to the United States have fallen off a cliff. Again, look at all the front running. Look at all the front running right here. This is where they started to fall over, and then they're like, shit, we better buy now en masse. And they did that. And now it's rolling off a cliff because we've got our inventories built up. Container freight rates are falling. That's good. Those will go back up, though, if we start to see an opening up really quickly. I don't know if we're going to see that, though. We got a news alert. I'm going to see if it's anything of interest. Let me pop over here real quick and see if it's anything interesting. Sometimes these are bullshit. Oh, they're just talking about power outage.
The worst outage in its history.
The worst outage in the history of Spain and Portugal. Wow.
It's working with energy companies to try and restore power, but simulations indicate that it could take 6 to 10 hours. Officials declined to speculate on any potential causes, but
is this literally both countries? The entire country?
That's not stopping any speculation on the internet. That outage has paralyzed public transportation. It's caused large traffic jams and delayed airline flights. Play was suspended at the Madrid Open tennis tournament.
Let's check that.
Right here at Post 9 at the New York Stock Exchange, Jim Cramer, he's not next to me. He's at 30 Rock in Midtown.
I'm going to close this down. We got a half an hour until market open. I'm going to mute this here.
Mad Money's 20th.
I'll keep an eye on that. You must be killing it on Tesla. Yeah, I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right because I've got TSLL. Yeah, I'm not doing bad at all. The market has treated me very well. Again, I'm like closer to 3.5, 3.6 million. That was after dropping down to like the 2.2s. I got to do the math. I got to pull it all up and look at it, but my portfolio got hit super fucking hard. So I went from 6.95 or like right near 7 down to the lows and the 2.2s. But I've rebounded, I mean, seriously, like 50% in a week, a little over a week. So it's been really nice, coming back really hard. And Tesla, TSLL has been a decent jump. A lot of the gains, though, are coming from, I mean, everything from MicroStrategy, with MSTX, and SMCI is doing good. Like, my portfolio has turned around. The main one that I have here is turned around exponentially for anybody who's been tracking it. And let me just move in here a little bit. If you just look here, like, again, CleanSpark is still down. I'm down 52% on that position. With my other account, it's probably closer to 50. ArcG's down 47, so those have been hit. But look at this, Soul Strategy's up 40%. DLO is just like, I don't even care about that one. If that comes around, amazing. The fact that it's worth anything is interesting to me. And then, again, Iron is almost profitable, but Mara, I'm up 20%. MSTX, 98%. SMCI 16, 45% on TSLL already. It's been pretty good. All the pain that I had in miners just gone. All I've ever done is stack with miners, guys. So yeah, things are turning out really good. It's going to be very, very exciting in the not too distant future. I've got no complaints, man. I really don't. Anyway, let's keep going here. Consumer sentiment declining sharply regardless of income level. Yep, that's true. Yep. Unemployment expectations rising sharply. We haven't seen any of this, but the expectations are increasing. Sharp rise in consumers who think business conditions will be worse in a year. Amazing rise. Let's just look at some of these guys. We've got unemployment level concerns at the peak of the 2008 Great Financial Crisis, higher than the dot-com bubble, and higher than levels from the 90s. Really, we haven't seen these kind of levels since the 70s heading into the 80s. This is fucking like outside of 2008. This is wild. These are really pessimistic numbers that I think are going to be outperformed. Everybody's thinking that the world's coming to an end and all the shelves are going bare in the United States. That's just not real. Could you miss certain goods? Yes. A lot of them, though, are going to be like the things that people buy on Amazon. Ash said, Jesse, you really thinking Pierre has a Trump 2016 moment today? I trust your instinct. I do, but here's the thing that's rough with Canada. I don't have the same ability to look at polling related data. Like, there's no Atlas Intel. There's none of this other stuff I can look at to try and derive the truth. I have to look at betting markets. I have to look at a lot of other stuff that's sketchy and usually really biased towards the libs in Canada. But I think there's a pretty good chance he wins based upon anecdotal evidence that looks very, very similar to what happened with Trump. It looks very, very similar to me. And these kids have the younger generation that are very, very pro-Pierre. They have X and they use it. So I think there's a real opportunity for them to win there. So sharp rise in consumers who think business conditions will be worse in a year. Look at this, guys. This is worse than anything going back to 1980. I love that. Reversal in consumer expectations around inflation. Now, they're not actually that high. These are probably not horrific. It's probably fair. In international arrivals from Europe to U.S. declining sharply. Yes. That started around February, probably is the big drop. That's fine. That doesn't matter. We don't care about the short term. The short term is just noise. Tourists across the world are traveling. Yep. We don't care. Who is coming here more? South America or the Middle East. The Middle East is coming here more. Huh. And Asia is starting to pick back up. It's all the European and snobby liberal assholes that aren't coming. Shares of consumers making just minimum payments on their credit cards sharply increase. I paid all mine off. I actually think I do have one now with a 0% offer that I got for 21 months. I can't. I did get a few of them accepted when I applied, even though my credit score was 825 to 840. I was getting rejected for all kinds of stupid reasons, but I did take the ones I could get because I love free money at cheap rates. And when you get 21 months with a 5% fee, That's really closer to like 2.5%, 3%. So that's a good deal. But they're hard to get right now. Credit card delinquency rates are rising. So if you look over here, we're seeing delinquency rates for 90 days past due rates are going up. That's true. The bottom percentage are the ones that are getting hit right now, guys. Vegas visitor volume is declining, not by much. Fully cash funded purchase of homes, sharp decline. Yes, why would you be spending cash on homes right now when you think the prices are going to be falling? U.S. corporations earning roughly 6x revenue from China than the U.S. export goods to China. I don't even know what we're trying to display. That's probably good enough for now, and that's the end, I think. Let's see. Yeah, it's so hard to tell who's going to win. Pierre would be great, but I'm optimistic Carney would be an upgrade to Trudeau. Yeah, I don't know. Carney's fuck. I hope Pierre. If Pierre doesn't win, then you guys deserve to be the 51st state. That's my take. Robin Brooks, if Germany wants to deter Russia, it does need big fiscal stimulus. Germany's direct exports to Russia have fallen, but transshipments, especially to Turkey, means they're really no drop in exports to Russia. So again, it's all bullshit, guys. Europe is still 100% funding Russia and supporting Russia. Why do I say that? Because sure, German exports to Russia fell off a cliff, but that at the exact same time, Central Asia exports shot up. And then look at Central Asia plus Turkey. So with Turkey, it basically all went to Turkey and then went to Russia. Okay? So there is no real blockade when it comes from Europe to Russia. It's the U.S. that blockaded Russia. Parts of Europe have done nothing. Nothing. Yeah, I think Carney's a downgrade. I agree with that. Carney's a piece of shit. He probably went to Epstein Island. He hides a bunch of wealth overseas. I know that Trump endorsed him, but I just think it's because he maybe has files on him and can make him bend his will. So I don't know who I want to win in the end, because does America do better with Carney because we've got pedophiles on him? I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. I do think if Canadians care about their country over the short term, they would vote Pierre. But if you guys don't, again, 51st state, still very much a viable option. I wanted to say thank you to Georgia Maloney, sorry. I love her. I love her love for Elon Musk too, and for capitalism and democracy and freedom. Italy has achieved a miracle, says Michael, and stabilized its debt to GDP. Look at this. Look at this. The debt to GDP is flat. That is not a common thing happening across a lot of Europe right now. Agreed, Carney was the architect behind Canada. Oh, yeah, he created the chaos that you're dealing with. And he was substantial for parts of it in Europe as well. Also, in here, the NASDAQ. I posted this over the weekend. I wanted you guys to see it. I think I did subscriber only. I'm trying to do more of that. Yeah, it was. So if you don't watch this, you're not seeing it. You should subscribe on X. I think that's a good one for everybody. I'm going to start doing a ton of subscriber only stuff. Just because people don't support you otherwise. And I like the support. It encourages me to do more and to sign up for more monthly subscriptions and expand this. So I said the NASDAQ is getting ready to print the strongest monthly candle since the pandemic low of March 2020. If you look here, it's actually stronger than that. And today it looks like we might go up even more and get above this little red first fib extension level. That would be amazing. And I drew that extension from the 2022 low because that's really the place to do it right now. But if you look over here, you can see what happened after that pandemic low. It was a rocket ship because of heavy money printing. I do think that's likely to happen again. I also wanted to call out over here. I said we had the third lowest drop in the weekly RSI since 2006. If you look over here, guys, this is, let me just see if I can zoom in. This is 2022 where we had that low. That was real close to this one, right? Outside of that, though, the last one this low was 2008. I should have put on there, not 2006. It was a typo. So we're very, very oversold and have had a wicked bounce. From a technical standpoint, guys, this just does not get better. This just does not get better. And let's look here. So I said, I saw this and knew it was bogus right away. So people like, I don't know why they do this. I can't remember his name. He's on James with Invest Answers a lot. He's a crypto dude, bald guy. Anyway, they post shit about M2 and don't care if it's right at all. It's just like they just want to pump the markets. So there was an issue in reporting for India's M2 that had them up here at like the 650 billion mark from 150. No, Marty Party. I don't know why you post shit like that. But I said I saw this and knew it was bogus, so I didn't post it. But I said global liquidity isn't rising from India at an increased rate. It's from China and Europe with a sprinkle of USA's TGA, the Treasury General Account. That's where it's coming from. So don't believe everything that comes out of these guys. Sometimes you just have to discount what they say completely. So Joe Burnett, I thought, had a really good one in here. He said today global M2 has been flat for nearly 3 years. He said 2022 delivered the worst year for the 60-40 portfolio in a century. 2025 just saw the worst 3-day market stretch since 1987. As global liquidity breaks out, Bitcoin is poised for a parabolic market. I agree with this. So again, global liquidity here, if you look, it's been flat to up here only recently, only at the beginning of 2025 or the end of 2024 has it started to tick up. Really, it's been flat, just like Bitcoin's been flat. And now it's expanding and expanding at a great rate. And so I said something up here. Here's what I said. I said, to clarify this post, global liquidity will have to expand dramatically because of this trade war, not just here in the USA either. China's lost revenues, backed up supply chains, internal dumping are catastrophic for the country. The rest of the West isn't doing much better. Plus, the USA will not be unscathed by what's happening. I said, solution, everyone needs more money and governments will be hesitant to pull via taxes because, A, China has virtually no tax program. I don't remember if it's like 5%. It's like single digits. They have no way to collect taxes, so they have to print. B, Europe is already collapsing under the weight of heavy taxation. Again, they're pretty fucked. Raising taxes would destroy them. They have to print. C, the USA is looking to cut taxes. I think that's why they're so eager for war. It allows you to be able to just fire up the money printer. But again, we're looking to cut taxes, not increase them. If we're cutting taxes, that's not going to work for us. So the answer for everybody is printing money. Thank you for joining the Alfonso. Since these make up the majority of economic power on Earth, having all of them switching to money printing will lead to massive upside potential in Bitcoin later this year, not to mention all the corporations that are piggybacking off of the MicroStrategy strategy to compete to buy Bitcoin, plus government, states, pensions, and everyone else on Earth. So again, just super bullish for Bitcoin right now in regard to M2. Jim Bianco said on the following repost, Fox published a poll earlier this week accompanied by this graphic. Main Street hears the word tariff and thinks inflation. Wall Street hears the word tariff and thinks recession and bear market. Whatever. I think we're pretty good there. I think we covered a lot of what I was going to say. And then again, there were just a bunch of recordings from Treasury Scott Bessant talking over the weekend. Here's one of them. Let's listen to it. I want to listen to each of these, actually.
Right now, the U.S. has a barbell economy. We have a very advanced financial system. We have a the exploration and development that is the envy in the world. On the other side, we are a natural resource economy led by energy, which the previous administration tried to stifle. And in between is where working class Americans have lost out. And we want to bring back these manufacturing jobs or create these manufacturing jobs of the future. And we are meeting with companies that want to do this every day.
I love that. The whole barbell comment, I think, is a really, really good one, right? We're rich in natural resource and energy. We need to produce more of that. We got a great financial system, awesome tech sector. We're embracing deregulation. We're doing all the right things right now. It's the working class Americans that have been fucked and left out. The bottom 50% are really the most that are suffering. And it's probably even into the 60% range, with 40% suffering greatly and then 60% suffering more than they should because they don't own enough wealth and assets. So I just love the way he said that. I think it's 100% true. The global economy is slowing down, and it's a show me market right now. Google just demonstrated that the shift from the analog to the digital world remains a long-term secular trend. Agreed. Look at all the companies, the Magnificent Seven, that are still doing well. As global growth decelerates in a reflationary environment, risk assets that stand to benefit should outperform. Does no one pay attention to the data? The evidence points to Bitcoin and the NASDAQ 100. Of course, it could be different this time, but I'm not counting on it. And we just looked at the NASDAQ, and it looked bullish as fuck, right? Jeff Parks said for any Fed official to say they'd support a rate cut if tariffs cause job losses is to admit they fully understand why the Fed should no longer exist. I love that comment. Michael said, current gold rally put in perspective. So hours of work to buy 1 ounce of gold. So again, you can just see that this gold rally was substantial. It's as big as what happened in 2008 up to 2010. It's as big as what happened in the 70s. It's as big as what happened during the Great Depression. Bigger, actually. So it's very substantial. And again, a lot of that, I think the handoff is occurring to Bitcoin right now. Seeing another news alert. Let's see if it actually means anything. I'm not going to jump to it, though. Senate memo claims Musk avoids $2.37 billion in legal liabilities through Doge influence. Fuck you. All right, now I go into that one. Mahindra, my boy. India is growing, and it's smart to be partnering with the U.S. This is kind of a cool video. It's very much AI-driven, but it talks about how India, oh, no, that's not this one. There's another one. It says India to overtake Japan as the 4th largest economy in the world this year. Again, no fucking around with India right now. This is definitely an area that is going to do very well in the years ahead. I'm going to try and probably capitalize on some of that too once I get done with Bitcoin later this year. And I'm not done with it, obviously. I just mean like I've gotten a lot of my 1020x out of my proxies. ECB's Holtzman, tariff net impact so far rather disinflationary. So short-term disinflationary, potential for inflationary, but short-term disinflationary. And we will see, again, increases. It's inevitable. But you'll see slowing growth in the economy, so it can counter it. I think you will see the Fed lowering rates in the not-too-distant future. Michael says, after a decent jump, container ships sailing from China to the U.S. are showing signs of sharp drop. We already looked at that. Just remember that the trade war had not kicked in yet. Oh, yeah, retail sales. Just showing retail sales doing really well. And me being the voice of reason saying, hey, the new world trade order, I need to start catchphrasing that. We hadn't seen the tariffs really kick in yet, so this stuff isn't showing anything positive. Caroline Levitt is live with reporters currently. Cool. Let me know if she says anything of interest. We can jump over to it. I didn't want to talk to this. I said the level of Fed survey respondents that are expecting declines in economic activity are near the bottom of the great financial crisis and the pandemic. So if you look, guys, here, we're already starting to see peak pain, at least in the New York Fed services, and then I think it's like Philly Fed manufacturing, and Philly Fed services. So services definitely, manufacturing not quite. We're seeing what the peak levels of the 2008 great financial crisis and the pandemic were. I don't think it's that bad yet, so I think that's why markets have been recovering. We already looked at that. Yeah, okay. I think we're good for now. We covered a lot of the stuff. There's more, but we covered a lot of it. Let's see here. What do I want to talk about next? Homan is speaking. Love that guy. Oh, he's speaking too at the White House? Yeah, those guys are great. I'm probably going to skip that stuff and watch it later. It's all good, though. I have no doubt. All right, so let's go real quickly. So AI and chips. I want to jump over here. Markets are waiting for deal announcements. Yes, I agree with that. I actually think markets, though, could still trend higher. I mean, again, Tesla's up 2% in pre-market. MicroStrategy, Mara, the rest of the miners up like 1+%. Solana's up 1.68%. Palantir's up 1%. SoFi's up 2.56%. Hood's flat. ARKG's flat. I don't know. I think the market could do all right. I think it's getting a little bouncy. AI and chips. I wanted to speak to this real quickly. So again, there's rumors, and this Ray Wang seems to be another one. We'll see if he's a reliable source. If he's not, I'll remove him. He said, since it's just got reported, I can just share this freely here. NVIDIA speculated to establish JV in China to maintain its CUDA ecosystem. So this guy is the semiconductor and AI U.S.-China tech competition analyst at heart, is what it says on here. But I need to make sure he's not Chinese propaganda. So, but it says Wang repeatedly stresses the company's 30-year relationship with China during the official meetings with Xi. Rumors circulate that Wang is quietly launching a plan B, considering establishing a joint venture in China to maintain the CUDA ecosystem, possibly splitting off a Chinese operation. I don't see any of this happening. So what I said, and there's more to it, you can read it. What I said in my comment was the Trump administration would not be happy with any kind of technological transfer to China during the height of a trade war. So I'm not sure how true this report is, and I don't believe it to be. So we'll see if that guy's reputable. If he's not, I'm going to extract him from my list of people that I pull news reports from. Mario put, AI tried to run a company and failed spectacularly. A team of researchers built a fake company and staffed the entire company by AI workers. The results, total chaos. The best agent barely finished 24% of its tasks needed nearly 30 steps and costs $6 per assignment. So some of this might be true. And again, these things could fail over the short term, but I think that I think the correct headline is here, AI can take your job, if not now, in the very distant future, but it probably can't replace an entire company yet. Elon Musk talked to the first Neuralink recipient with ALS. So we have the third person who's received a transplant from Neuralink, the first with ALS, nonverbal. I'm typing this with my brain. It is my primary communication. Ask me anything, I will answer, at least verified users. Thank you, Elon Musk. So this guy has ALS. I think this was the same thing that killed Satoshi Nakamoto, Hal Finney. It's awesome that this guy can still communicate with the world. It would have been nice to be able to have that from Hal Finney. It would be nice if we could reverse the symptoms of ALS. I don't know if that's possible from this. I'm still trying to learn. I'm going to go back and spend some time on that fully. But super cool. This is like video AI improving dramatically in a year. Yeah, there's so many things that will get better. Sawyer says, watching the Chinese robots trying to run a marathon made my day on Friday. Yeah, watching that robot run backwards while they were cooling his ass was my favorite highlight of the day. So this is interesting, and it's getting no press. This is Ray Wang as well. Again, is this guy reputable? We're going to find out. Said China reportedly plans mega merger of chip tool makers from 200 players to merely 10. So they're looking to wipe out 95% of their chip sector, which they highly subsidize, in half for years with little results. China's pushing forward a major consolidation plan to restructure its fragmented semiconductor equipment sector, reportedly cutting more than 200 domestic firms down to 10 core players. The initiative aims to sharpen national competitiveness. I'm not going to read all of this. We'll see if it ends up being true. Again, I don't know. This person's got really good headlines, so I want to figure out whether or not they're real. Geez, what might people be asking Hal Finney? Yeah, did you create Bitcoin? Houston is building the future. So this is 22 hours ago. One AI factory at a time. Houston, long known for oil refineries and giant chemical plants, is about to swap pipelines for processors. I don't know if they're going to swap, but they're going to be doing a lot of both. Apple is building a 250,000 square foot AI server factory. NVIDIA is setting up a supercomputer plant. Foxconn, the company that assembles iPhones, just bought another 1 million square feet of Houston real estate to join in. These factories won't be packed with thousands of workers. They're mostly robots now, but they'll still need humans who can fix, program, and manage the machines. I just want them to have all of it get created here. Experts say one factory job could create 4 or 5 more jobs in supporting industries. Think parts suppliers, maintenance, and logistics. Houston's cheap energy, giant ports, and skilled workers make it the perfect place for the AI gold rush. If it all works out, Houston could go from energy capital of the world to the AI hardware capital of the world. Hopefully AI hardware, software, all of it. Again, this is piggybacking off of an article from AMD talking about building out in Arizona. It's all really good stuff, guys. Can you look at OCGN? Very small portfolio allocation, but upside potential. Elliott Wave, thanks. I might. I haven't done a lot of that recently, and I might do more of that in the future. I got to figure it out. I just kind of got bored with looking at charts, and we'll see. There's so many. Kind of have my asymmetric plays locked in right now, so I might do more of that later. I don't know. We'll see. There's just a lot to focus on right now. I put bullshit. Breaking. China's Huawei has developed a new AI chip seeking to match NVIDIA. This is all bullshit. This chip is running hot as fuck. It's probably just a bunch of, Angie put developed in China means stolen. This is a bunch of shit glued together that is not remotely efficient and not competitive. And it's a brute force technique in order to try and be able to have some announcement whatsoever to try and keep Western dollars in the Chinese markets. That's what this is, okay? Charlie Kirk said, Grok is getting very, very good. I don't use Google anymore, just Grok. The era of search engine is ending. I agree with that. I agreed. They even started using Grok at my 11-year-old daughter's school. It's taking over. And I asked her, and she said exclusively using Grok, which is fascinating to me because I live in a city where, again, a decent amount of liberals. I'm in the Midwest, but it's more liberal than conservative as of late because it's a larger city. So it's interesting that they're choosing that. And again, the government passed an executive order mandating that we start teaching AI in schools. I was very fascinated to find out that my daughter was already learning it. That was a quick turnaround. Palantir is now nearly 100% Grok. I believe it. That's cool. Elon Musk, rate of progress decides the outcome. So this is very fascinating, and I wanted to talk to this. Again, I told you we'd be doing more AI. We'll be doing more defense too. But if you look here, it says intelligence scores for each developer's top performing model in the second quarter of each year. So you can see how in 2023 it was OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, and Meta. Grok didn't exist, right? And then 2024 XAI Grok was at the absolute bottom, right? DeepSeek ahead of it. Now, Grok is right. It says in here, XAI is right behind Google per this intelligence survey. I would say from going not existing to the bottom of the pack to at the absolute top of the pack, this is incredible. And again, his comments are very clear. Elon's comments are very clear here. He said the pace matters. The rate of progress decides the outcome. What he's telling you is he's at the top of the list. Silas said, Jesse, what kinds of things were they teaching your daughter about XAI? Just how to prompt, how to ask questions, which again is going to be the main thing, right? You got to know, you have to create questions in your head, and you have to know how to engage with AI in order to be able to find the results and decipher them. So it's all about prompting and using it, which I think is a great start for an 11-year-old. The Alfonso said, just joined with Starter Pack. Thanks, Jesse, for the good work and sharing and helping others. Thank you for contributing to helping fund this. It really does mean a lot. A lot of people go away when things are tougher, and the true ones stick around, and then it's awesome to have more people joining in. I really appreciate it. Taiwan Semiconductor quarterly profit surges. Again, I just wanted to rehash this. Things aren't as bad as what people have made them out to be. This is an interesting one with Intel. It says Mario. Oh, that's old, though. We'll leave it alone. All right, so that's AI and chips. Let's jump real quickly. I want to go to China. Let's actually check out India. AI isn't going to take jobs, but the people who can understand how to use it. I think it will, actually. But again, it's going to create jobs, too. So there's always creation of jobs and disruption going back throughout time. What people are missing this time around is that we're changing with AI, robotics, and autonomy. We're going to make it to where jobs are way less important and people can work a lot less hours in them. And then I think you're going to see like the creator economy, like what I'm doing now. You're going to see a lot more people finding their interests and honing in on their interests and sharing their interests with other people and getting paid in doing so. I think that's going to be the creator economy. I think is going to be a really big job in the future. And again, and servicing robotics and being a part of AI and like the people that embrace it are going to do really well, but I do think we're going to have a lot less workers in the future. It will just get to a point where the robots can build everything, and the robots will do all the things we don't want to do, and then it's going to be more like Star Trek, I think, in the not too distant future. So Renuka said, and my buddy Mahendra shared this. World TV channels are broadcasting what India is doing and planning. If you don't know, watch this video. This is the new India. It's actually pretty good. It kind of talks through their economy, how it's growing to one of the largest economies on earth, and how they have plans to build out infrastructure and just a lot of really good stuff. It's AI generated, walking through it, just showing how powerful they are and how they're going to get bigger. And I think I created an India section. I won't watch the whole 7-minute video, but I do think that that's getting better. Casino opens in 1 minute, you said. So let's hop over to that, and then we'll probably jump over into Bitcoin after that.
So I don't have. I mean, look, I've got to tell you, David, there's so much reporting that's needed to be done right now because I'm getting a lot of quarters where the CEOs are saying everything's as great as ever, but it's not.
Yeah, I'm hearing this the same. I have those same conversations, as you know. Although, those concerns perhaps not going to be reflected in the opening here that we get 20 seconds from now, Jim. Let's get to the opening bells.
Yeah, I think it'll be more like Star Trek.
RSAC,
but I'm an optimist.
That's a series of cybersecurity conferences, and they are doing the honors.
All right, let's take a look here.
Wow, interesting. Yeah,
got a little bit of a drop into the open.
Erie Indemnity celebrating the 30th listing.
Let me pull over the heat map
anniversary of Erie Insurance.
I'm gonna kill some of this audio.
Controversial company, very controversial from what I can tell.
Okay.
By the way, David, cyber.
All right, I'm going to kill that. This hasn't updated. Let's look at what it was at pre. So there's pre. Oh, maybe it did update. So pre, again, 1.46. Amazon was up. Some of the Magnificent Seven just kind of meandering. Let's look at it right now. So it actually, oh, no, it hasn't updated. It will here in a second. We'll let that refresh. That is from Friday. Very good Friday. Crazy Friday. If we didn't actually drop a little bit today, it would be surprising to me. Just because, again, we've done so well. But we're seeing a 68% upside to get to the high. Again, we've jumped so much, guys. We've had a really good run of it. Let's look at where we are now. So we were down like 56% from the highs. Now today we're sitting down 40%. So it's made a nice little jump. Jesse, what are your thoughts on out of the money calls for MicroStrategy right now? For example, it's ran so much. I would be a little hesitant to buy right now. Just because it's done so well. Again, this is a pretty big jump, right? It's a pretty big jump. I would be a little hesitant to buy right here. I think that it would be smart to maybe hold off just a little bit and feel blessed by the ride and maybe sit back. I might actually real quickly sell a little bit of my MSTX today. Let me just see here. Just to garner a little bit of cash. Just because I've had such a wicked run. And I like buying dips. I'm going to maybe do like 1,500. Oh, that's a lot. Do I want to do that much? Yeah, I think I'm going to. All right, so I sold 1,500 shares of MSTX for about 60K. I'll post about that in a second. Again, it's just nice to have a little bit of money for some dip buying if it comes around. And it's been a good couple of weeks. TSLL's up about 2.2%. Probably not going to sell that. I don't know. I think that's been pretty good too. 10% of my MSTX? No, it's like 7% or something. It's lower than that. All right, let's see over here. So what else we got going on? And again, it looks like MSTX is coming back a little bit. I want some cash. It makes me feel good to buy some dips. Not that I need to. I just haven't really done anything in a while, and I made a lot of money off of all this stuff. So it's like, I got to have a little bit of fun, ride the wave. Again, all being done in an IRA. And if I miss a little bit and I've got $60,000 in cash, I'm okay with that. That's all right. I don't know if it has to at all. Joe Mighty, thank you for joining. Appreciate that. SEP MN wave is way too high. Yeah, there's a lot of or MNAV. I'm sorry, MNAV is way too high. Got to check out the NAV, guys. Net asset value, letting you know how much the company's actually worth in regard to its total holdings. I think that's a very important thing. So I encourage people to look at it. But yeah, I'm just having some fun here. I'm going to try and ride some waves, I think, a little bit with MSTX. And if we don't get any, whatever. Again, having a little bit of cash doesn't hurt. Looks like Cypher or Soul Strategies is up another 40% today, which is just crazy. It went up so much. Hood earnings in 3 days. Yeah, those are exciting. What day is Hood earnings? Oh, yeah, Wednesday. Yeah. Yeah, I'll leave that alone. I'll leave that to Amit. He's got all the insides on that one. I'm just going to do MicroStrategy. That's the one I care about. So Thursday, I'll do earnings. I do believe we really don't have Dallas Fed manufacturing comes out in an hour. I might call it early today. I do want to look over the Bitcoin stuff, though. A lot of good Bitcoin stuff. Sats, thank you for becoming a member too, man. Wow, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys. Again, Dallas Fed dropped super fucking hard. So we were kind of trending up since May of 2023. We started trending up. We got a huge spike in June. I should say July. We just started that ramp up all the way up into the beginning of the year in January. And then it's fell off a cliff because of the talk of tariffs. Pakistan says Indian incursion is imminent, saying both sides should refrain from using nuclear. Yeah, that's probably true. They should refrain. They got over 350 nuclear weapons between the two of them. I hope they don't. That would be a good thing. On that note, maybe we look at that. Let's jump to geopolitical real quick here. So there's a couple things I want to talk about. So Qatar's saying, hey, we're not doing anything. The U.S. is talking nonsense about student demonstrations and us being a part of it. even though they contribute billions to our universities. And let's just listen to somebody who actually knows something about Qatar, who Saudi Arabian Adel Al Jaber. I'm sure I'm fucking it up. Let's listen to him talk about Qatar, somebody from Saudi Arabia. Let's listen to him talk about it.
It's just we don't want to have anything to do with them. The Qataris, since the mid-90s, have been sponsoring radicals. They have been inciting people. They have become a base for the leadership for the Muslim Brotherhood. And the Muslim Brotherhood, you have to keep in mind, is what begot us Takfir and Hijrah, which begot us Al-Qaeda, which begot us Al-Nusra. The Qataris allow their senior religious clerics to go on television and justify suicide bombings. That's not acceptable. The Qataris harbor and shelter terrorists. That's not acceptable. And Nashri, the head of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula in 2000, entered Saudi Arabia on a Qatari passport. We captured Al-Qaeda types coming into Saudi Arabia with Qatari passports. The Qataris know this. The Americans know this. The world knows this. The Qataris are funding dissidents in the Emirates and Bahrain and Saudi Arabia and in Kuwait in order to cause problems for those governments and to create instability. Why would you do this? The Qataris pay ransom to terrorist groups, including $500 million to Hezbollah in Iraq, $50 million to Qasem Soleimani, according to text messages between the Qatari ambassador in Iraq and the foreign minister of Iraq.
So as you can probably gather from this, Qatar is a very bad place.
Including, I don't know how much to Hezbollah in Lebanon. Is that acceptable? If we gave $1 to Hezbollah in Iraq, we'd be sued in a court down the street. And so the Qataris use their media platforms to spread hate. The Qataris send weapons to Al-Qaeda-affiliated militias in Libya. The Qatari Emir was conniving with Gaddafi on how to overthrow Saudi Arabia. The Qataris connected Gaddafi with a Saudi dissident in London who they fund, who connected the Libyans with a group in Mecca with the objective of assassinating the then Crown Prince, later King of Saudi Arabia. Is this acceptable? There's a list of terror financiers that the US puts out, the UN puts out, and a number of them are living openly in Qatar, raising money and giving it to bad people. Is this acceptable?
So I love this. Saudi Arabia, guys, is the country that we should be embracing more. It was so weird that Biden took such a hard stance with the reporter that was murdered. I mean, they shouldn't murder people. I don't know all the details of what went down and why it went down, but Saudi Arabia is about the main Islamic country that is embracing Western values, and so we should be their friends. Qatar should not be giving billions of dollars to our universities. We should be working more with Saudi Arabia. That's the point I wanted to make. I said the voice of the people calling for deportations is growing stronger across the West. We've had enough. So if you listen here, let's just listen. This guy is based out of the UK. Smart man.
Right, as far as I'm concerned, Ben, it's a very simple solution to this. First of all, if you are that bothered about a foreign conflict, a foreign war, go there, campaign for it in that place.
Would you call for them to stay at home, these people, the Indians and the Pakistanis?
Well, look, as far as I'm concerned, you have a right to peaceful protest. It's right people are feeling angry after this Islamist terror attack. But having said that, look, it's time for mass deportations. If you don't belong to the country you live in, then go and live in the country you do belong in.
Good man. I think a lot of people would agree with you. And by the way, let me just play...
Yeah, so again, there's just more and more people are getting tired of everything that's going on, and they're willing to speak up against it. Also, again, this is why Russia better get their shit together. This is a girl who her parents died. Her parents died in Ukraine from these bombings where they're targeting civilian apartment complexes with North Korean ballistic missile systems. And it's bullshit. And so what I said here is, I said if Putin won't stop bombing civilians or start showing any indication that he's serious about ending the war, then we need to sign a huge energy deal with Europe to allow them to reduce their purchases from Russia. Europe is literally, again, over $30 billion in like oil, gas, and all this stuff that's been purchased. Europe is literally helping fund the Russian government right now while also having to help fund the war on the Ukrainian side. Do that in sanctions, and Putin will have no choice but come to the table. Maybe that's some of what Trump has been threatening, because, again, now we have talks of a 3-day peace deal. We'll see if it actually amounts to anything. But I do think it should. I want you to hear this. This is from a young British woman. She is not only good looking, she is brilliant. She's talking about the risk to women across Europe from illegal immigration. And this is so fucking on point. 2.5 minutes. Please listen.
Mass immigration has affected me in the same way it has affected the majority of women, not only in this country, but across Europe. Many would say in this sensitive topic, common sense has been completely thrown out the window, especially in relation to illegal immigration, which poses such a huge threat to women's safety. It poses such a huge danger in countless ways. One is the simple fact that no one really knows who these people are. No one knows the life in which they led before they arrived on British shores. In 2024, Afghans were the top nationality of people arriving here by small boats. Now, let's look at the way in which women are currently being treated in Afghanistan today. They are banned from any type of education. Women need to have a male escort just to go into public spaces, and if they rebel against this rule, they can be severely punished. Not even to mention that child marriages are the norm and that women need to be covered up completely head to toe. Now, for us in a modern Western society, that seems completely dystopian because women enjoy rights and in most scenarios have equal opportunities to men. We all know that the majority of people coming over here are not women, they are men. These are men who have adjusted to the way in which they are used to seeing women being treated. Therefore, it's completely naive to think that as soon as they arrive on British shores, they completely adapt to the way in which we view women in this country. Many would argue that after being used to seeing women completely covered up head to toe, seeing a Western woman walk around in short skirt and high heels would provoke a certain reaction. Statistics back up this claim. In this country, it's harder to find statistics based on nationality. However, European countries that do keep these statistics, it's clear that you can see a recurring pattern. In Sweden, Afghans commit 69 times more rapes than Swedes, and Algerians commit 122 times more. The most recent UK statistic shows that 1 in 4 sex crimes are committed by foreign nationals. It can be an awkward conversation to have, but those difficult conversations are usually the ones that need to be had the most.
She just fucking crushed it. I don't know what you guys think in chat, but amazing.
Mass immigration has affected me in this.
Amazing breakdown. She just illustrates it so well. Also, again, India, Pakistan, you've got a bunch of tanks sitting at the border. This is in an area, kind of a little wedge where Pakistan kind of reaches in a little bit to India. That Kashmir is to the north, so they're preparing for war. Some comments too in regard to Pierre Polio. I'll never get that right. So I just said, hey, I think he's going to take it. I mean, just again, this same kind of feeling, the same kind of turnout, the exact same vibes, everything down to a T of what we saw with Trump. And I would say that Pierre is way more articulate in his response than Trump is. I love Trump, honestly, and I don't know how I ended up going from where I was to where I am now saying that. But Pierre is a very well spoken. So I think the chance of him winning is huge. And again, you're seeing like truckloads of people supporting him and other people that are supporting him. And you've got these talking about a super majority of him winning. This gives me all the same vibes of what happened with Trump, guys. It's not as easy to find. I have. Thanks, Matt. You tried. All right, let's keep going. So I think there's a really good chance that he wins, guys. I do, unless it's stolen from him. I think he wins. Now, jumping topics here real quick. Iran, their major port where they distribute their oil, and let's see, how did oil do today? Is oil up today? Oil is down today. Shocking, 0.61%. I didn't actually expect that. I expected oil to go up because this major port has been blowing up. If you look here at the craters, it's ridiculous. We know that a bunch of Chinese weapon systems and fuels and things like that have been coming across. But if you look here, look at the craters in some of these areas. 3 different major explosions. This shows a bunch of containers sitting there, showing you one view of them trying to put it out. You can see a shock wave that comes across here from the explosion. There's a bunch of other views. You'll see it here in a second. Just boom, right there, shock waving across. Here's another one. This is a good one. Check out the view here. Just crazy. Watch this. These people are all dead. They're all dead. You see this guy trying to drive this thing out? Yeah, they all died. And there's another view of the fire. Yeah, just a major issue there. And then we got Pakistan again moving in tanks. There's just a lot going on right now, guys. There's a lot of stuff happening. We'll probably stop there, though. What's this? Which one is this? Last night, total mayhem. Athens. Yeah, anyway, there's a lot going on around the world. This area, again, that explosion, everybody driving by. If you just look here, like anybody that was this close is dead. They're just all dead. Why is ARKG pumping? I don't know if it's pumping. It's up 2.2%. I mean, Tesla looks like TSLL's up 6% now, guys. Whoa. Let's look. How are we doing on MSTX? Was it a mistake to sell? They're up 1%. Not too bad there yet. Miners and stuff are down just a little bit in the red. Nvidia's down 1.44. SMCI's up 2.7%. Sol Strategies is up 7.11. I'm loving that. And ARKG is up 2.2. TSLL's rocking it. Loving it, guys. Loving it. Hey, Jeremy knows that Tesla, my Tesla is due. Yeah, Jeremy, he's so smart. I think, though, guys, I'm probably going to take a break here. I'm probably going to save some of the Bitcoin stuff for tomorrow. Lots of good stuff on the Bitcoin front. I'd normally take a break, but I think I'm just going to call it. I want to hang out with the wife. Again, data coming out here at 9:30, though, in regard to the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index. We'll see what that looks like. I could expect that going down. I think if it goes down, I think it increases the probabilities of a rate cut. Maybe we don't see that right away in May, or maybe we see an emergency one in May. I think that's the likelihood of that is going to be growing by the day. Right now, sitting at a 7% chance in May. I think it could happen still, guys. I really do. Wow, will we get over 300 today on Tesla? I think we could. 294 seems very doable, guys. I need to adjust this here. Put this up here, maybe. Up there. Put that down here. Put this. Yeah, I'll probably keep it right about there. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good day today, guys. Again, I'm very bullish. There could be some bumps along the way, but I'm very excited about what's coming. We'll talk again tomorrow. You guys stay out of trouble and just, again, ride the waves and enjoy it. Otherwise, peace out, and I will talk to you later, okay? Bye.
Yeah. Drop the Don. There's a new dance move going on. Check it out. Everybody move your arms like this. There's a dance other people doing. I think it's the hit. Don't be shy, go and get up on the dance floor. Have the time of your life, I'm the man, though. Do the trap. In the school, in the pool, or in the club. We don't got no time for haters, they just that way. We're about to turn the country to a red state. Do the trap. 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 Kamala thought she had me, that's a funny fact. We could celebrate now and just laugh at that. America the beautiful, home of the brave. Ask them why they hate me, they got nothing to say. They say I'm not a politician, I'm just here to have fun. Yeah, I golf a little bit, but I get the job done. I got respect all over the world. Donald Trump is the name and I'm taking your girl. Everybody move your arms like this. There's a dance other people doing. I think it's a hit. Don't be shy, go and get up on the dance floor. Have the time of your life, I'm the man, though. Do the trap. In the school, in the pool, or in the club. We don't got no time for haters, they just that way. We're about to turn the country to a red state. Do the trap. 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 Made America great before, I'll do it again. Foreign nations that used to hate us wanna be friends. You ain't see Donnie T up on the dance floor grooving it. Every time I move around, the girls start losing it. I'm the boy to make America great. The DNC can't compete, it ain't up for debate. I ain't lowering gas, now I'm making it free. Even if I do, my haters still be hating on me. Everybody move your arms like this. There's a dance other people do, and I think it's the hit. Don't be shy, go and get up on the dance floor. Have the time of your life, I'm the man. Do the drop, do the drop. In the school, in the pool, or in the club. We don't got no time for haters, they just can't wait. We're about to turn the country to a red state. Do the drop, do the drop, do the drop.